Hello, we're back. I'm wearing the same outfit as last week. Welcome to another episode of the Big Money Stylist podcast. No, we're filming 2 in a row because we are both going to be out of town, and I get anxious when we miss one. So I'm like, we got to do it, even if it's a shorter one. So this might be a little bit shorter one, but we have an important topic we want to talk about.
Dude, and balance. And I'm going to say this.
Are you triggered by the word balance? Be honest.
I love the word balance. Do you know what I'm triggered by is people being like, I have the perfect balance. I'm like, you're fucking full of shit.
No.
Because let's just address this. Perfect balance doesn't exist. There is no possible way in hell that it exists. It does not exist all the time. Even in people and me like Danielle that we preach and teach and we always like encourage balance, we have shitty days, shitty weeks, shitty months. Like it just is.
I had a shitty night last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I yelled at Bailey for no reason. I was just super frustrated, and I think I was just frustrated at other things, and I just yelled at her because she was just like the stupidest thing. Like she's been late to class every week. She's taking stupid classes, and I finally was just like, I said something kind of mean. I was like, these classes don't even count. They're stupid. What are you doing? Like it was kind of a mean. And I was like, fuck, I'm a dick. And then I realized I'm like, I need to like sit down with Bailey and like talk with her. And I was out of balance in like the mom role. You know what I mean? And I can always tell when something is bugging me and I like blow up on my husband or my kids or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, okay, where do I need to regroup and figure out where I'm like lacking priority in what area?
Well, and I always know, and I catch myself almost too late. Not almost, but sometimes where I'm like, I can tell I'm getting frustrated because things that normally wouldn't trigger me, not only do they trigger me, but they trigger me to tears. It's very, very difficult to get me to cry about just about anything. Not because I'm a heartless monster, but I feel like emotionally I'm a very stable person.
I feel like you and I are similar in that way where we're pretty like,
we're even keel.
And then it's like it piles and piles and piles, and then all of a sudden we're both like, waterworks! And it's just like literally, and you're like, and it's because you're like, no, I'm fine. And then you hit this tipping point where you're like, I just gotta cry it out. I gotta cry
literally,
it out.
guys, we talked about it 2 podcasts ago, and Danielle was like, there's something wrong with your camera. And I was like,
but it's like little things that put you over the edge.
15 minutes later, I'm in my car crying over it.
The other night, like Garrett looks over at me and I'm holding Chloe and I'm crying, and he's like, what? I mean, it was that time of the month, but still, he's like, why are you holding Chloe crying? And I'm like, she's old and blind and I think she's gonna die. And he's like, we've known that for a while. She's running into walls. Like she's on her way out. And I was like, I know, I've just had a really hard day.
Dude, one day I went home and I was like, I Googled how long Frenchie's live and it's only 15 years and you're already a year old. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're crazy. But then I also would not let my dogs go. But it happens. And so the first thing I want to address is like, no one's perfect. Honestly, like no one is perfect. You will have bad moments, days, weeks, months, but it's a matter of being able to like recognize it and course correct.
Ooh. You know what I was asking Garrett? I was like, we did it. We were starting the Date Your Wife podcast up again, and we did our first inaugural episode yesterday at the house. And I was like, let me ask you this. Like, I'm like, how come, like, sometimes you, like, out of stress, you bury yourself in work, right? And he's like, I don't know. It's like almost like he doesn't, things aren't good with us or things aren't good somewhere else. Like, he almost he doesn't want to acknowledge that maybe, like, our relationship is, like, we're feeling kind of distant. And so then he buries himself into work. And I'm like, that doesn't fucking work. And you know that if you do that long enough, like, it's actually going to bleed over. And what you think you're, like, it's going to bleed over to your work life. And then you're going to lose everything in business, right? Because, like, what if we get divorced or whatever this, then like you're drowning yourself in your work and all of a sudden our relationship isn't good. So you have to make sure that every area, we call it body being balanced in business inside of like my husband's business, but we also incorporate it with all of our hairstylists inside of DKW Styling Academy. Because if you're out of whack in one area, you're in denial if you don't think that's going to bleed over into another area later. So if you're that person that's triggered by the word balance, I'll have you consider that without balance, that your business can't be as successful as you want, or your relationships can't be as successful as you want.
Oh, I'm a Garrett. Shit.
I know. You drowned yourself into work. Dude,
when my personal life is going sideways,
work.
I don't just drown myself. I like throw myself. I am in it. My personal life isn't even in my rearview mirror anymore. And so not that I can speak to why Garrett does it, but I can speak to why I do it. And guys, it's a matter of control. Truly it is. Because at the end
distraction maybe.
I don't view it as distraction. To me, it's like, it's control, because here's the deal. When it's like your personal life, that means there's another person involved. Right. That means You cannot control what they are saying, what they're doing, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, how they're going to react. Like, no matter how, it doesn't matter. You cannot control nor anticipate another person 100%.
Right.
So when you know shit is going sideways, when there's a lot of arguments, a lot of just like shenanigans, I can't say you, but I teeter to the place where I know I have control. Like, fuck off. I'm good at what I do at my job. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This is a disaster. Yeah, like this is a disaster. I can't control
fix this. I can't,
but fuck off. I can definitely do this.
Yeah.
And then it puts you in a place where you're like, okay, I'm doing great. I nailed it. I crushed this project, crushed this training, crushed this event, did this, did that. Fuck, everything's good. Oh shit, home is still a disaster. Turn your head quick. Go back to work.
It's so funny because I said this with Garrett and I had this conversation probably like a month ago, but I was like, it was back in like December because he's been working his ass off like all year.
Yeah.
And I was like, babe, like you come home, you tell me you're going to be home at like 6, but then you're rolling at like 7:30. Like the kids go to bed at like 8:30. I'm like, and then I go to bed at 9 and I'm like, there's no us time. I'm like, I get that we have date night and that's great. That's not enough for me. I was like, that's just not enough for me. And I'm like, and I'm not asking for a lot. Like maybe 2 nights out of the weekdays, like if you could just be home by like 5:30. I'm like, and he's like, well, then I'm like, yeah, we have family time. Like, just having you around is good for everybody. And I was like, so I'm sorry, like, if you don't see the value of like, 3 extra hours a week?
Just being here.
Of just being here? I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's going to roll over into your business, which you're literally working your ass off to. Like, I'm just asking for 3 hours a week. And he was like, because he always felt like I was nagging him. I was like, why are you late again? He's like, I'm fucking working so hard. And I'm like, I'm not saying you're not working hard. I'm asking, am I not worth, is your family not worth an extra 3 hours a week? And he was like, fuck. And then he stacked it and he came back. And now like since the beginning of the year, he's been making sure that he's home. And he's like, yeah, thank you for like putting your foot down and requiring that I have that little bit of lack of balance. You know what I mean? Because if you like, honestly, even with work, if you're drowning yourself in work and you don't want to look at this other area, it's just eventually it's just going to
rot away.
It's going to, yeah.
Well, and not only that, oh no, what was I going to say? Shit. It was so relevant to this. Oh, like Garrett, for example, like every single thing Garrett does in his entire life is for you and the kids. Like at the end of the day, he's always
I think he felt lack of appreciation, but I was like, no, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're doing.
Well, yeah, probably he did for sure. But that's not what I was going to say, but it's everything he does is for you guys. So for him, he's like, I'm working hard and I'm working hard for Danielle and Bailey and Ruby and Isla and Parker. I'm working hard for my family. I'm working hard for my family. I'm working hard for my family. But it's like, yes, you are. And he's a great provider for you guys, but he needs to provide in a different way, and that's like the emotional and like just being there, like that quality time. Well,
and he's told me that before, like when he pulls that card where he says like, I'm doing this for you, I'm like, you're doing it for you. You cannot tell me you are not very fulfilled by what you do. When you're good at what you do, like you want to go to work. You're like, I'm very fulfilled by what I do. And oftentimes the area that you're most fulfilled in, the one thing that you're really fucking good at that you have control over is where you want to spend all your time. But if you want a really good relationship, you've got to put time into there. If you want a really good family time, if you want time with your kids, like you see, you're laughing because you're that asshole. But that's what I'm saying. Like everything takes balance in order to be good at it. People ask like me and Garrett, like, how did you guys get your relationship back? I'm like, we worked on it. We like communicated. Same with like staff. Like if you want a great staff, you have to have a really good communication. Like you can't just be like, oh, my assistant, she was an asshole and this and that. I'm like, I'll have you consider that you're the asshole because you didn't take time to train them. Like everybody plays a role in everybody's lives, and everybody has literally everyone has a role what they play, and you have to take accountability for how you show up, basically.
And you know what I've realized, because obviously like I have a new boyfriend, I've talked about him on the podcast, but even inside of that, I've realized
he's a mystery boyfriend.
God, I feel like I've kept him a secret, like all to myself. Low-key, kind of like it. I love that his Instagram is private, so all you nosy motherfuckers that keep friending him, he's going to keep denying you. He's very private. So I love it. But even inside of that, I think, because I know, like, yes, God, you saying this about Garrett, I'm like, I feel very, like, exposed right now, because that's 100% me. But what I really like is the fact that, like, every other boyfriend I've had before has been very much so a criticism of, like, you're working too much. But it wasn't like, hey, I would love you home, you're working a lot. It's like, again, this, and would get so mad, and I'd be like, fuck you, you don't know what it took to get here. And that's, and I'm not bad about that, but I've definitely got to the point where I'm like, you have no idea the amount of commitment and fucking work it took to get here. So fuck you.
So how's your new guy?
He's great. He's fucking great, because
I've noticed you have a little bit more boundaries, because I used to be able to like boxer you whenever and this and that, and then I'm like, she didn't respond to me. That's not like Ani. She did not. She's always available 24/7, 2 a.m., 5 a.m. Doesn't matter. Like Ani's there, and I was like, she's not responding. I would get like panicky. I was like, Katie. She's like, it's her birthday weekend, Danielle. I was like, oh yeah. Okay.
But you know what? And I feel it's become actually easier to put work down because I genuinely like spending time with it. And he's not up my fucking asshole.
And you want to spend time with him.
Yes. He's not riding my ass about how much I work, or if we're in the middle of something and I'm like, hey, this is actually really important. I'm sorry. I got a boxer. I need 20 minutes. I'll be like, cool, not a big deal. Yeah. And he doesn't make me feel bad or guilty, which makes me be like, oh, you know what? I want to put my phone down and actually spend time with you. Guess what we're doing Sunday?
What?
Salsa dance lessons.
I want to do that.
It was part of my Christmas present.
Somewhere?
I don't know. He did it. It was part of my Christmas present.
That was one of my things I wanted to do this year. I told Garrett, I'm like, I want to learn. I'm like, I feel like I have rithim and I feel like we should do this.
I'm fucking stoked.
You have to tell me later where you're going.
And so that's the thing, guys. Like, I feel like if you're finding like such a hard time getting any kind of balance, you need to look at why.
But I will say, going like how you said, like, well, I want to spend time with him. Yeah. The more you feed that relationship, or the more time you spend in that area of your life, the more you're like, hey, I actually really want to work out, right? You might be like, I hate working out. Like, oh, I'm really nailing every area in my life, but man, the gym sucks. And then I feel like I'm like,
I'm exposed today.
No, but you know what? Even you're like, I want to do something for body. I'm going to surf this year. You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm obsessed.
And now you like it. And it's not like you do it every day, but you've been gone a couple times, right?
Yeah.
So it's
the only reason I haven't gone more is because it's been raining and you can't surf after it rains.
Right. So, but even that, like, there's certain, like, you might be like, oh, I don't really want to work out or whatever it is. But the more you do it, the more you kind of like really enjoy it. And then you get to this place where you kind of can prioritize everything. Like, I love working. So I just text my trainer, who I'm supposed to be working out with right now. And I was like, I got to finish these podcasts, but I also love working out. So it's like balancing and prioritizing like every little area. And I love when I feel like when I'm really, really happy. Like, when you know how some mornings you wake up and you're just like, I'm just happy to be alive.
Life.
I know it's because like I've like put deposits everywhere. I'm like, I put deposits with my husband. I put deposits with my kids.
There's no empty buckets.
Yes.
I can tell when I have an empty bucket, and I'm honest, not that I'm like a miserable human being, but I can tell when I'm lacking in somewhere. And even going back to the working out thing, which by the way, I got a really nasty email, someone going, nobody cares about your closet and your library and surfing, move on.
That was so funny. We were
if you don't fucking like the podcast, don't listen.
And we were just like bantering about like life, and I'm like, I'm sorry you're triggered that we have success, and you're being
a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. But I'm going back to my surfing comment. But even inside of that, like, I don't like normal working out. I had to find something that like fulfilled me and gave me not like life, but like when I started surfing, I was like, this is so much fun. Every part of my body hurts. And now my boyfriend's making me a lat workout so I can paddle faster. But the only way that you ever get me in the gym now is because of that. And, but I'm excited to do it because I love it. I'm happy to take time off work, although low-key, I'm really stressed out Cancun.
Really?
You'll be fine.
You know what?
Days.
Oh my gosh.
It makes me happy that you're gone.
Okay.
Not because you're gone, but I'm not gone and you're gone.
Like, okay.
No, we're both gone, which means neither one of us will be asking about work.
Well, it's so funny. Every vacation, about 2 days in, I get anxiety too. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll be like boxering you, and you'll be like, Danielle, okay, have fun in your vacation. I'm like, okay, thank you.
I'm always like, go away. It's fine. She's like, but I'm like, go
I know.
away.
I have to like unplug. I'm like, okay. But I would just challenge you guys. I want to kind of wrap this podcast up, but I want to challenge you guys. Like, if you feel like you have an empty bucket, like, how is that affecting you in other areas of your life? Like, even for me, I woke up this morning, I told you, like, I kind of got in an argument with my daughter, and I woke up feeling kind of shitty and sad. And I was like, it's because I yelled at my daughter for no reason. Like, I didn't go about it correctly. I need to like take her to lunch now and like fill that bucket back up. Like, even I can tell when I wake up and she's like, hi mom, like, she's sad too. And I'm like, oh,
that sucks. Yeah. And just knowing that things don't always have to be like a confrontation. Like, like you probably handled it poorly. And had you just been like, hey Bailey, like, let's have a talk about this. Where do we go from here? It would have been better.
And sometimes we talk about it and sometimes we don't. It's like, I just like, she'll say something mean to me or I'll say something mean to her. And sometimes I'm just like, hey babe, and we'll go to lunch. And then literally she'll be like, mom, sorry. Like, I'm like, I'm sorry too. Like, and we don't talk about it, but we're both like at this place where we're like,
I was a dick, you're a dick.
Yeah, we love each other, like, whatever it is. So find out, like, ask yourself, like, where do you feel like your bucket is a little bit empty, and where can you prioritize in each area to kind of have like that fulfilled, balanced life? And if you are triggered by that word, like, why? Ask yourself why, and what can you do to just try it out. Literally, body, being, balance, and business. Like, try to make deposits in each area and see where it goes.
So we have some really, really exciting news, guys. We have a brand new event coming out in just a few weeks. So if you want to be the first to know about it, go to nbr.education, enter your email. This is unlike an event that we've ever done before.
Never done it before. It's a virtual event. It's going to be amazing. I'll just say the price point is good. Like, it's something
you guys are going to love this.
You're going to love it. We've had a lot of artists over the years that's like, hey, can we learn more about this? And we're like, no, it's secret. You cannot learn. But we are going to share some of our amazing tools with you guys. So if you're an artist, make sure that you're on our email list. Go to nbr.education, enter your email, because I always advertise to my email list like weeks in advance, and I might only do like one post on social media and you might miss it. So make sure you're on that email list. Also, tune into the podcast every Tuesday. It comes out with a new episode. Share it with your friends if you find value in it. And thanks for listening.